It's a consciousness. It's an opportunity. But how do we let that which we want to have flourish in our life grow? How do we grow? As human beings on this planet, as people on the spiritual journey, how do we grow? How do we grow beyond our blind spots? How do we grow when there's no instruction manual? How do we grow when growing implies becoming something greater than we are, expanding into something we don't now possess? How do we do that? How do we enter into something we know not of? Charles Fillmore liked to define spiritual law. He said there are human laws, there are laws of the planet, earth laws, and then there's spiritual law. And he said that spiritual law superseded all the other laws. It transcended, and at times would transcend and include the other laws. But my favorite of the laws that Charles Fillmore talked about is the law of infinite expansion. And the law of infinite expansion is the principle, he says, of never ceasing growth and development towards the fulfillment of God's perfect idea that is firmly fixed in all creation. He says that this perfect idea is firmly fixed in all creation. That alludes to something. It alludes to the idea, the possibility, the good news that there is a divine blueprint for each of us, for all of creation. The divine blueprint, though we may not be aware of it, just like when we close our eyes, we cannot see what is around us, it is existent within all creation. It is fixed within our beings. It is within the blueprint of our heart, our mind, our ethereal energy, our spiritual energy, our vibrational field. It means we live, we move, we have our being. And it is right here to the touch. It is right here in front of us. If you've read anything about science, right, and the cutting edges of science, we're learning more and more about what is there that we can't perceive. What is there that we can't see and don't understand, but nonetheless is there. In fact, the facts are that it is such a minuscule percent of even the spectrum that we can see that is existent. So think about everything we can see. Think about everything that is available to our sight. Think about everything that is available to our ears. This is only a minuscule fraction of what we know to be existent. Doesn't that seem to fit Charles Fillmore's idea that there is something beyond our sight, that firmly fixed in all creation, even if we don't know how to grow there or how to get there or how to see it or how to hear it or how to feel it, it is existent. That's good news. That's good news, because that means though we can't see an instruction manual, there is one. Though we can't see one, there is one. And religions throughout the ages have been trying to write it down. Trying to write it down and pass it forward and instruct people on how to understand it. And in fact, religion has gone so far, right, as to say, I will understand it for you, you of little mind. So no worries. You don't need to read this book. I'll get it for you. And this is how it goes. But that's not the spiritual law. The spiritual law is that the pattern is firmly fixed in all of creation. That means all of creation has direct and divine access to all of the blueprint, all of the information to the full road to our unfoldment in God consciousness, of God consciousness, in the evolution of our beings all the time. And I think the spiritual truth that we all know is that just like no one can do our work for us, right? No one can eat for us. No one can heal for us. No one can learn for us. So it is true that no one can give us this knowledge. No one can lay it out. No book, no religion, no teacher. Because it is for each of us to take it on. It is for each of us to take on the journey and to recognize that we don't need an intermediary, that in fact, an intermediary for this type of work wouldn't work. For this type of work, it just wouldn't work. Because though we might have the ideas presented to us, it's a journey of transformation. That journey of transformation was discussed in our scriptures. And it happens every time someone gets a name change. That journey of transformation and the name change is a symbolic acknowledgement that someone got something. They got something. They listened, and they embodied their path. They embodied their practice, and they embodied their transformation. Last Sunday, if you weren't here, and you can catch it on YouTube or go to the website and link to the video, but last Sunday, we experienced one of Unity's reflective services. It's the Burning Bowl service. And in the Burning Bowl service, we released what no longer serves us. We did our forgiving, our purging, our getting it all out. And then we wrote a letter of intention, a letter to the highest self, a letter of commitment, a letter of vision. But what stands between this vision being a piece of paper and being a demonstration? Because if it's a piece of paper, it's pretty meaningless. We have to speak life to the words on those papers. We have to attach our I am nature, our true nature, to that which is honoring the I am, to that which is holy, to that which is awakened, to that which is enlightened, to that which is transformative. We cannot go back to the old ways of building up things for the burning bowl. Well, we will. We will. But the more conscious we are, the more awake we are, the more we recognize that no longer am I willing to attach my I am nature to anything unlike God consciousness. And when we engage that practice, we begin walking the path of unfolding these visions. Today's reflective service is the white stone service. And the white stone service is about taking those ideas from the paper and really deeply entering a time of meditation and asking our highest self, asking the fullness of our source, the fullness of God, to bring to us a word or a name that holds a consciousness, that holds a field of vibration, a field of manifestation, of demonstration, a field of power, that if I were to embody this word, to embody this name, if I were to become this and to hold this, if this were to be my guiding light through this next year, it would create fertile soil for all of these visions, the highest and best to manifest. That if I were to walk this journey hand in hand with whatever this sacred name is, I would have done my part. I would have made my commitment. And I would fully be able to trust that to the highest and to the best of my abilities, I did everything in my awareness to create the space for divine unfoldment in my life, to create the space for growth and transformation. In Revelations 2:17, it says, "Let anyone who has ears listen to what the Spirit is saying to the churches. To everyone who conquers, I will give some of the hidden manna. I will give a white stone. And on the white stone is written a new name that no one knows except the one who receives it. No one else can get this name for us. And this name, symbolized in the Bible by all these transformation stories, countless times there is someone who is born of one name. And then when they have an experience of getting it, an aha of what their part is, when they give that grand yes, they're christened with a new name. In Your Power to Be, Sig Paulson says the most important name in the universe is the name of the Creator. According to the Bible, the name of the creative spirit is I Am. This name is no stranger to us because it is also our identification tag. We cannot think, feel, or speak our identity without using this name that is above all names. We use it hundreds of times daily and millions of times in a life experience, for the most part ignorantly and unwisely, unconscious of its infinite potential in us. I Am is the name of every member of the human family who has ever lived. The I Am is the God potential. He goes on to say, it is a wonderful adventure to receive the true light and to begin to exercise the power to be children of God, the self-expression of the creative spirit that produced us. The decision, and note that he says the decision to take this great step is up to us. If we wait for some religious authority, a priest, a minister, a denominational representative to stick a thermometer into us and decide that we are spiritually mature enough before we make the plunge, we will never get started. Sig says we are moving into a new era of human experience and unfoldment. The yardsticks of the past are out. Your experience, your insight, your progress are just as valid and just as important as anyone else's. No other person can establish a tight little format for you to follow. All he can do is share experiences and insights and revelations that he has gained from traveling on his own path of unfoldment. Conventional obstacles from both your outer world and your inner world of past belief and experience may be hurled at you, but if you are wise, you neither fight nor accept them. Rather, you will let yourself grow beyond them, and they will dissolve without too much effort on your own part. The greatest power in the universe is the power to be. Now, sometimes I feel like when we do the white stone ceremony, we could do a better job at getting a deeper understanding of what it's about. Because the idea that we get a new name can be confusing. What is that supposed to mean? How do I make that real? And the only purpose of ritual is to create experience that makes something real. So if this experience is elusive to us, about getting a name, well, what am I getting this for? Well, what is it about? Then it will have no meaning. But if we can tap in to the universal nature of this ritual, to the universal power of this ritual, then it not only has meaning, but it has consciousness. It has consciousness. So to broaden the spectrum, we're going to go beyond the Bible. Charles Fillmore made a wonderful tool. It's amazing that this man even did this in his lifetime, but Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, created the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And this might seem like a very traditional tool. It's a tool to help interpret the Bible, but it's actually not. This book and the Revealing Word culminate Charles Fillmore's mystical perspective on life. It is an expression of him tapping in to what he found to be universal truths and going into Scripture and asking, what is more than the words? So if it's disproven that this town actually was here, or people did this or that at that time, or this was crazy or that was crazy, if this book is torn apart and ripped up and put back together, if we find out that they edited all the women out, or most of them, more like, 7/8 of the women out of it. And if we find out that there were some other mystical and metaphysical scriptures that were left in caves and tombs and other places that were really pretty cool and seemed to really resonate, if we find out all of this, oh well, it's all part of the spiritual package. It's all part of the spiritual journey. Because this scripture, this book, that we call the Bible, was not a book with a front cover and a back cover. It's not a book with an end. It's not a book that someone can interpret from us. It's a book that, in fact, if we each go into the core of our being, we will intuit meanings. It's made of symbology. It's made of stories and allegory. Charles Fillmore, in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, goes through the names of places, the names of experiences, the names of people, and gives what he, through research and meditation and prayer, got to be as the spiritual pattern unfolding, what these things or these people meant, what the things and the people meant. One example is Mary and Martha, the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible. And if you read it literally, you might think that it's just a story about Jesus being supported on his journey. But Charles Fillmore talks about Mary, and he says that Mary is the sole receptivity for the inner teacher. If you look at Mary's actions with the master teacher, her actions show that her soul, her inner being, was being receptive to the teachings of the highest consciousness, the teachings of enlightenment. Her enlightenment was internal. Her awakening was internal. And then if you look at Martha, Charles Fillmore says that Martha's experience was the expression of the outer activity of soul receiving higher self through service, through the service of love. So Martha was the one who acted. And then imagining them together, the sisters together. That's a body of inner and outer transformation. Charles Fillmore talked about Bethlehem and the significance of Bethlehem. Not just being a city, a name of a place, but being the place of substance, the place of spiritual substance and the house of sustenance. He talked about Jerusalem, and Jerusalem representing peace, representing the possession of peace, the foundation of peace, representing the dwelling place of peace and the abode of prosperity. And it goes on and on and on. So as these names and these places are touched, they don't just represent something that happened a long time ago that has a back cover on it that's on a shelf. They represent an emanation of consciousness. And to expand this understanding beyond Scripture is to expand it into all life. People throughout the ages have experienced the consciousness of places, colors, animals, archangels, patron saints. This idea is something that is in the human condition, in the hero's journey, that it is ours to intuit a name, a word, an energy to walk with. In the Native American culture, it's the medicine animals. If anyone's looked at medicine cards, you look at totem animals, and they represent different things. They represent a consciousness. They represent a field of support and help. So if you see a bear, maybe it's not just a bear. If you see a raven, it's not just a raven. The wolf represents the teacher. But each animal in the tradition represents something. And if that animal comes to you, if you receive that animal, just like your white stone today, if you're holding your white stone and you're in a meditation and you receive a name of that animal, it represents something. It represents an embodiment of something. We know this about colors. We know this about the spectrum of colors, right? What color do they say to wear if you're going on an interview? Anyone know? Red, because you're in your power. You're in your strength. What's the color of receptivity, pureness, purity, receiving? White. There's a reason, I believe, why cultures throughout the ages have engaged in these practices. Because they have power and meaning behind them. In Hinduism, Ganesh has the head of the elephant and is the remover of obstacles. Ganesh is the remover of obstacles. Other deities have other meanings. They symbolize an energy. They symbolize a consciousness. Durga is the goddess, the mother of life, the mother of creation, the root cause of creation and preservation. And the name Durga translates to the one who eliminates sufferings. Patron saints. Saint Anthony is the finder of lost things, lost people. So one might pray to Saint Anthony when they are feeling lost, because it's that vibrational field of consciousness that is embodied in that name, in the idea of that being. If we want to simplify it, think about someone who has made their transition. Think about someone you loved so deeply and you love still so deeply that made their transition, that died. And think about what they mean to you, what their life represented. Think about what you do when you're in a place where you need them and you call on them, you call on the qualities that they embodied, right? Can't you just think about them and hear their wisdom? Can't you just in a moment pause and think, I'm in this state. This is a lower vibrational state. It's a lower state of consciousness. If blank was here, and then you hear that voice, you get that cradling, you're held by that consciousness. You allow that higher vibration, that higher consciousness, that field of wisdom to come in and become the dominant energy, right? That then lifts where you are. It may have been someone represented laughter or simplicity in life. And all you have to do is think of them, and all of a sudden that part of you that is always, woe is me, just dissolves. It's that same practice. One of my favorite Christmas presents this year, for another example, was the Wonder Woman playing cards. I got this deck of Wonder Woman playing cards. And what does Wonder Woman represent? She represents a superhero, right? But she was one of the first superheroes that for a lot of us was a girl, was a woman. And if you think of Wonder Woman, what do you think? Well, you don't think weakness. You don't think fear. You don't think little. You think power woman. There's a reason that our fairy tales, that our culture stories, that people around the planet, no matter what religion they have, no matter what practice they come from, no matter what culture, what race, where they are. There is a tradition passed on about the sacredness of a name and the embodiment of that name. Because it is not ours just to beg and plead for help to grow, but it is ours to receive a guiding light in consciousness. It is for us to receive sacred medicine, to receive a guide that we may be a spiritual apprentice to. This is about getting in touch with our inner divinity. This is about spiritual transformation. You may get a word today. You may get a name. It may be one that's an archetype. It may be one you can look up. It may be one you already know the meaning to. And you know, if I embody this presence this new year, that is what I'm called to do. And this is my practice. This is my commitment. This one word will just trigger me into this state of spiritual support, of wisdom, of power, of strength. It may be that you receive a name that you don't even know what it means. And this year will be walking it, unfolding it. You may learn what it is. It may sound like nonsense when you get it. And you may meet a person that has that name. You may end up going to a place or seeing things about that name, that word. And the unfoldment will happen as we intuit it. But this practice is about not just calling upon an energy. It's about becoming that energy, demonstrating it, mastering it. It's beyond calling upon help. The name that you get today represents a field of mastery, a field of consciousness, a field of experience that has been mastered and demonstrated. This field will deliver you. This field is the way, the path to the next level of spiritual fruition for each of us. So let's breathe in now to a time of meditation to receive this name. So I invite you to take your rock into your hand. This is your Jerusalem stone. It comes from Jerusalem. As you take it in your hand, I invite you to just breathe into this space and just allow, without thinking, without processing, without trying. Just allow yourself to open up to the possibility that you will receive a word. That word will have meaning beyond meaning of what you give to it, but that word will draw you higher. It will unfold for you. It will be received by you. You don't have to understand it now. But it's beyond time and space. It's even beyond understanding of our little human selves that are so reasonable. This is for our spiritual self. This is the self that exists beyond lifetimes, beyond human form, that is tuning in and connecting to that which will grow us according to the law of infinite expansion, so that we may be an apprentice, that we may learn from a master teacher, that we may learn from the consciousness that is pure, what is here for us to embody. And we deserve this name. Not only do we deserve this name, but it is our birthright to grow along the path of spiritual unfoldment. It is coming to us because we are loved, and we are love itself. We are so purely accepted for who we are, how we are right here and right now. We are so immersed in love, immersed in this divine blueprint that is here for our good, for our unfoldment. So we allow ourselves to soak in this love. We allow ourselves to experience this pure love as we are fully open in this time of meditation. We trust that we receive. So we allow these words to saturate our being in the stillness of this meditation time. Just breathing into the gentle space with our eyes closed, our hearts open, our beings receptive. I seek what belongs to me in truth. As we receive this name, we write it on this stone. We feel the pencil with each letter, writing on this stone, knowing that with each letter we are speaking life to this word, giving it the light touch. We are allowing it to unfold. We are so infinitely supported. We receive what belongs to us in truth, a new field of wisdom that is enveloping us, blanketing us with love, with that which is needed, with that which we are ready to become, to demonstrate, to master. So I invite you, after you have written on your stone, to take it in your hand, and with the word facing your body, to place it on your heart, to connect with the I am nature. I am becoming. I am demonstrating. I am manifesting. Whatever this field of consciousness that is written upon your stone, this new name, this new word, this field of infinite support. I am becoming. Together, I am becoming. I am demonstrating. Together, I am demonstrating. I am manifesting. Together, I am manifesting. I am learning. Together, I am growing. Together, I am loved. Together, I am supported. Together, I am grateful. Together, I am. And so it is.